made the mistake of eating a bunch of nuts when I was doing homework the other day, and now I have nut dust all over my keyboard.
Nut dust.
Nut dust. I've been I've been like weirdly obsessed with the Blue Diamond brand salt and vinegar almonds.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like it kind of was like started off as one of those things where it's like, I like to snack, but it's like maybe I should look into something that's like a little bit healthier. And I had been just scarfing down salt and vinegar pork rinds for the longest. Salt and vinegar pork rinds and chips, like I zero self control. I keep going until my mouth literally hurts from the vinegar. Um, so the one day I just saw these, just a little can of it on a whim, like, oh, I'll pick them up and try them out. It's like, wow, those are pretty good. And I went through them and I was like, I'll get another one. And then went through that one. It's like, I'm going to get them two at a time because I'm going through them pretty quick. So now I get them two at a time. So then that escalated to one can of nuts in my car for road snacks and another one sitting next to my chair for like whenever we're watching TV, whatever.
Nut
So
dust
then
everywhere.
nut dust everywhere. Oh, it gets worse. I'm like full on have a full addiction to these things because then I decide to get they have a larger, it's like a small bag. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I get this bag. I'm like, I put a little Tupperware container in the car. I have them next to my chair, and I have another container up here at my desk. So when I'm doing my homework, I have snacks.
That
And
is.
then I find out Amazon sells a 25-ounce bag of these things.
Now you're
So
buying it in bulk. Like,
I literally am buying it in bulk.
I gotta
I
get some
got
of them
these,
nuts.
like I'm all about these nuts, and I mean, thank God these aren't pork rinds, because if I ate this many pork rinds all at once, holy crap! I mean, they are way healthier than chips or anything like that. But
Right, right.
I mean, at the same time, like I'm over here trying to justify it in my head. It's nuts. It's nuts. Nuts are healthy.
They're not
So
as healthy as you think they are. I mean, I don't want to burst your bubble,
oh
but
yeah, no, oh
they're
no,
high
oh
in
no,
calories. They're very high
there
in
was
calories.
there was no bubble to burst, but at the same time, it is like a container of nuts in one sitting that's probably too much for a normal human being, anyways, or an entire bag of like salt and vinegar chips or pork rinds in one sitting, which is too much for 5 humans in one sitting.
It's gonna
So
take all the control in the world to not post this as a bonus or an opening because you will be made fun of for nuts, your nut obsession.
that's fine. I don't give a shit.
This might end up in there. This might end up in
I'm
there.
proud.
Then.
I'm proud of my nuts.
I'm proud of my nut dust. My nut dust everywhere.
Time to get your fix. It's a horrible gaming podcast. It's not good, it's not great. Horrible gaming podcast. It's not even what you would call fair. It's really not that good. Horrible Gaming Podcast.
Hello, my name is Zachariah with Old Man Gaming. And you have decided for whatever reason to turn into another horrible game podcast. And we appreciate that you do. And by we, I mean I am never alone. With me is...
A tiny wizard, aka Neil.
Ooh, doing it backwards.
Doing it backwards.
Switching
It was
up.
a lot more difficult to do, weirdly enough, because it's so rhythmic now and reactionary for me. I had to physically think about it, and there was that brief pause when you like segued over to me that I had to physically think of how to say it.
No, I get it. I get it. All right. So before we get into the meat of the show, we must do a couple of credits. And the number one credit is if you're watching this on YouTube, you're noticing all these fancy graphics behind your timestamps. Those were provided by Mr. Mark Bell. He does all the original graphics for the show, and we thank him for that. And then, of course, the theme song was provided by the man who makes the music, my brother, Nick Van Sliders. He provides the theme for this and all of the shows here at OMG, and we thank him for that.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first segment. We do it every show. It's possibly our most favorite segment, and that is Fan Traction. That's where us, the co-hosts, talk to you guys, the fans. We open up a dialogue. We read your comments on YouTube. We read your comments on Discord. We read your comments anywhere we can find your comments, quite honestly. And not a ton of comments last week, which is fine, but we're going to read them anyway. First of all, Neil, we have to address the Horrible Arena. While I personally think they were two of the funniest pitches we've ever done, comedy-wise, nobody voted for either one of them. Either way, you consider the vote. And I think that's because, in a way, we kind of violated the spirit of the game.
Yeah, I didn't really think my my idea of my pitch out, or not the pitch itself, but my idea for the criteria too well.
I think the two of us should have, I didn't think it was a bad one. I just think the two of us should have sat down and really hammered out some rules on how we were going to go about that.
Yeah.
You know? But, it is what it is. So we did not get any votes, so that's 2 draws in a row. It remains 11-11. And coming into this week, where from just talking to you off air, it sounds like we both have pretty crazy interstellar pitches. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. But as far as the comments go, Kev, it's all about Kev again. Although, Kev, you have a lot of half thoughts in these comments, buddy. And I don't think Kev ever goes back to respond to our comments when we comment back to him. He comments a bunch and then he's just done with that show. Because he says, I don't remember voting, laugh out loud. And then I said, you didn't. You didn't last week and you didn't the week before that. So that's fine. But you have not voted for this show or for the last show. Then he says, I have an insanely huge Star Wars game dream. I have insanely huge Star Wars games dream. And I'm assuming he is responding to Phil taking the reins, basically, and saying, we need to talk about more Star Wars for last week's fan interaction. But you actually asked him, I'm intrigued, what is it? And then he never responded. So, Kev, whatever your Star Wars game dream is, please tell us. We'd love to read it out on the show. Then he said Glitchpunk 2077 with a lot of question marks. That's about it. He then said, that in response to us talking about the whole Games Pass debacle, Games for Gold debacle, he said, they just needed to make everything one service for $25, make PC Pass $10. If you have any reoccurring sub, you can opt to keep that single lower cost, just like Live Gold at $15 a month. I don't know if I agree with that. I think your prices are a little bit too high, personally. I think it should go up, but I think that's a bit much. I think really what they should do is everything should go up by $2 or $3, and it should still be rolled in, like you said, personally.
I mean, I would be down for, obviously, if I have to pay more for anything, I'm going to grumble about it a little bit, but I would not, I would not run out and cancel my, my Game Pass Ultimate subscription, if they went from, I think it's $17 a month now up to $25.
Yeah.
Because just what you get with that is just crazy as it is for the price that it's at.
I mean Games Pass is eventually going to have competitors. It's eventually not going to be as big a service, but right now it's Netflix. It's Netflix in its early days.
Right.
And it's just the best value for what it is. Then Kev Tutal says, if you rip your throat out, Neil, how are you talking? He's making some humor there.
I got one of those little robot throat boxes.
Then he says, if they want to charge for premium releases, make it $5 a movie to get it that 30 days. It goes away, then after 5 to 7 months in theaters, comes back. I think we did talk about the movie situation a little bit, the premiering on streaming services and the Disney Plus trying to jack their prices up for Mulan of all things.
Yeah.
I mean, a couple extra dollars, I guess I'd be okay with. I mean, I like the idea of like it just premiering on your service, and I think that's going to be the way it is, which sucks for theaters. I know a lot of people like to go to theaters, and don't get me wrong, me and Melissa, our date night used to be theaters as well, but then we had a kid, and it was like everything that came out, it was like a bummer because you'd see the trailer and you're like, well, it's going to be at least 6 to 8 months after that comes out before I can watch it. It's gonna get spoiled, you know. Like
Yeah.
I wish that the option for me to be able to watch it at home doesn't come at the cost of theaters. But like the fact that now that like I can watch like half of these blockbusters just day one on HBO Max is nice in my opinion. I just wish there was a way to do that and still keep the theater business around, you know.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to do both,
Right, right. And
unless
that's the problem.
theaters scale way back or charge you like $20 for a box of Skittles as opposed to 15.
Right, right. So I want to ask a question to the fans. This is not a question that me, Neil, or Phil Billy, if you're out there, can answer because it's going to be our question for our OMFD for February. But I want to ask the fans. I want to hear your non-digital favorite game. Like, what's your favorite board game, tabletop game, card game, whatever? I want to hear that. I'm very interested in that. I've been very into Riichi Mahjong lately, which is a thing. And you know, anybody who knows me for any extended period of time knows I love poker. So I just want to hear, and I am also a tabletop gamer as well. In all the role-playing game sort of things. So I want to hear what's your favorites? Like, if you want to share, if you care to share with us. Neil, you cannot answer because it's the OMFD question.
I mean, I'm gonna answer it eventually.
You're going to answer it on the OMFD. That's
Yeah.
where you're going to answer it, just not on the podcast.
It's a weird way to hype up an answer.
Yeah, isn't it? Trying some new shit, Neil. We lost some subscribers this month. I'm trying some new shit. Okay, so that covers fan interaction. I think, right? Unless you want to add anything.
No.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to our first talking point.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our first talking point. Actually, our only talking point. Before I get into it, I just want to let you guys know we're going to kind of do a special show here. We have a ton of odds and ends, but we don't necessarily have a ton of talking points, like big, huge talking points. So what we're going to do is we're going to spend a little time on this talking point, then we're going to just jump into odds and ends. And I know you're probably all expecting us to talk about the GameStop thing. We're not going to talk about that in length. We're going to touch on it in odds and ends, but neither one of us are really great at the stock market. We have a cursory understanding of it, and we don't want to. We're going to kind of give our ideas, but we don't want to like.
I mean, honestly,
sound like assholes, basically.
Well, yeah, there's that, but it's also like for me, like it's more so like a stock thing than
Right.
It just happens to involve GameStop, but we'll get there.
Right. I mean, yeah. If they had chosen AMC first, then that's what we would be doing. But what I do want to talk about is a lawsuit just filed yesterday, not of this recording, it's Saturday, against Valve. And it is a crazy lawsuit. Basically, what it is assuaging is it is a lawsuit. Oh man, I already forgot the name of that fucking term.
Most favored nations provision.
Okay, so anybody who puts their game on Steam, all right, they have to sign this contract that involves this clause that is called the Most Favored Nations Clause, which is just a provision. Which is crazy. The name of it is crazy to me. But basically what it means is if you put a game on Steam, Steam prices it and you can never price it lower anywhere else, or you can't have it on Steam. And basically they're suing Steam because they're like, you are not allowing people to get the games cheaper. You're basically causing like some financial distress. So what do you think about this, man? I think it's kind of crazy. I think it's I think it's a good point. I think this is a big deal.
Um, so I don't know because I haven't really dug hyper deep into this because I only found out about it when you sent
Right.
it to me.
Right.
But just briefly reading over it, I mean, I don't think it's right to lock somebody into
Right.
a price just because I mean there by using this provision there could be something where like a next gen version of a game on a console if they choose to go the route of the $70 next gen console games automatically for absolutely no reason whatsoever the price is going to shoot up to $70 on Steam as
Yep.
well. I mean, Steam sales, whatever, that if Steam goes ahead and knocks the price down on it, that's fine because from my understanding of how Steam does sales, they eat the cost of that.
Mm.
Um, I could be wrong on that, but from what I understand, whenever Steam puts a game up on sale, they are the ones that are paying the difference for that to make the sale of the game. So the developer themselves doesn't necessarily lose out because Steam wants to have a sale. So I mean, there's that, I guess, but that doesn't excuse the fact that you're locking somebody into
Mm-hmm.
a price. I
You're
mean,
not
they're
even
already
you're not
there
even
are
just locking that person into a price. You're locking up other vendors. Like so Epic Game Store, Microsoft Store, they can't sell the game cheaper because of this insane deal with Steam. And what's even weirder is that means that in certain cases, games could actually be more expensive on PC than they are on console. I have not seen this in actual practice, but if technically if you're only selling it on console, then Microsoft can sell it cheaper than what you would get if you sold it on PC because it would be governed by whatever the Steam price is. Basically, the lawsuit is saying that like you are inhibiting creativity and innovation because you are creating this barrier to entry that basically every company that is in this market has to abide by because you were the first.
I think from where I'm seeing this, I think it's more so ridiculous that they're already taking a cut for hosting the game on the Steam service and all the sales, everything like that. So what? Steam is now just being like, "Hey, you can't make this less because then you're eating into our money." Like
Right,
that's not cool either.
right.
I don't know. I think that this could turn into something we already, have seen games now go up to $70 because old development costs and we need other monetization and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. And now we have the actual platform holders saying, "Hey, we want this set amount of money too. You can't put your game on sale. We can put your game on sale, not you." It's like giving up rights to
Mm-hmm.
do the thing that you want to do with your game
Right.
just because you're hosting it on the service. I don't know. That's not right to me.
Yeah, I think Valve in every way deserves this lawsuit. Without a doubt, they're maintaining control over the market uh, that they have no right to. You know.
Yeah.
Aside from that, though, I really feel like we are going to in 2021 see like I feel like the public in a lot of ways is sick of the game companies doing bad stuff. I mean, this is the third lawsuit we've seen against a game company in basically as many months. We've got two lawsuits against CDPR and now a lawsuit against Valve. We have a lot of like public unrest on game developers doing shady stuff. I really think we're starting to see like especially now that lawyers have seen that they can like go after them for this stuff. I think we're going to start seeing some possible like I mean, it's going to hurt, but I think that we're I mean, you also have the Google Epic thing going on right now. Like
Yeah.
I think we're going to see a lot of change in the game industry in the next 2 to 5 years, honestly. I think it
Well,
has to because right now it's kind of it's gotten to this critical mass where like they've been doing so much bad stuff for so long and been unchecked that they've acquired all this money, and now the other people who are like, we can get money out of them because they've been doing bad stuff, are all coming in and they're going to start eating at them, you know?
Well, I mean, change is all well and good, and there are things that need to change, but I also feel like, too, change could also open the door to these companies trying some other shady sort of way to like squeeze more money out of people and, get more
Yeah,
stuff out of them. Like,
yeah,
you already, like, it was something that I noticed the other day is games now, every single game has like a terms of service that you have to agree to. Used to
yeah,
be you just turn the game on, you played the game, that was it. But the second you start introducing online stuff, they're collecting your data, sending
yep,
error reports, stuff like that. You can and can't do this stuff with our service. I mean, the a couple months back with Blizzard with the World of Warcraft, I
oh
think it was
yeah,
the remake, to where in their clause for their terms of service, any mods that are made for the game and implemented into the game become automatic property of
mm-hmm.
uh, Activision Blizzard
Yep,
because just reasons, which did not go over well with people, of course. It's just like they're just finding skeezy ways to do things. And
yeah.
I think that change can very well open up the door to these companies to start doing even more shady stuff. Just because, you stop them from doing one thing doesn't mean that they're just going to switch gears and do something else.
I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I think partially you're channeling Philbilly right now. But I think that I I don't think I don't. The problem with the whole opening the door also opens the door to the bad things. Is you still can't get any of the good stuff if you don't open the door in the first place. And I
Which
think
is
the
fair.
and I think the only way you open the door is this. It's either this or the government gets involved, and they're doing a great job with everything else. So like I would much rather have the companies themselves realize that what they're doing is not profitable and try and regulate themselves much in the same way as what happened with the ESRB, then the other thing happened. Either way, something's got to give. We're getting too much crap for not enough quality and spending a lot of money in the process. Um, and there's just a lot of stuff all of a sudden like hitting in the game industry, and I think this is going to possibly cause some. You might be right. It might cause bad change, and I'll tell you right now, in the immediate future, it's not going to make anybody happy. Like anybody who's actually a cyberpunk fan, who wants those like DLCs, I got bad news for you, because they ain't coming anytime soon, if at all. And Valve getting hit is gonna hit us in some way too. Like that's just
Oh,
how that works. It's how that trickle down works.
I was about to say, yeah, they pass it down along the way. I mean,
So like change is gonna hurt everybody, and that sucks. But I still feel like we need to get some sort of forward motion on some of these things. Otherwise, it's just gonna stay the same forever. It's not gonna be. I mean, like I said, right now, I completely stick to what I said. I can't remember if it was last week or the week before. That gaming kind of feels like a Ponzi scheme right now
yeah,
that I'm involved in, and like I don't want that feeling anymore. So stuff has to change.
yeah.
So I don't know. I think we covered this subject pretty good. You want to move into our odds and ends fest?
Sure.
Okay.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to our extended odds and ends segment. And so what odds and ends usually is a smaller segment towards the end of the show where we just kind of parrot back some stories that didn't necessarily deserve a full talking point, but we wanted to mention to you guys. Well, we didn't find a good second talking point, something that was going to eat up another 20 to 30 minutes. So we did find a ton of odds and ends we wanted to talk about. So we would just like to do an extended odds and ends section and then go into Horrible Arena. Hopefully you guys are okay with that. So what do we want to talk about first?
I mean, let's just get the one out of the way that everyone's been talking about. Uh, GameStonk,
Game stonk, game stonk.
GameStonk.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It
This
even it
is,
even got SNL coverage yesterday. Like there
I
was a
mean,
skit that mentioned it.
it's wild, and I had to tell you too. This is completely like hindsight 2020. Uh, I had a couple. It was about a month or two ago. I actually did download the Robinhood app,
Mm.
and I was like, you know what? Like maybe I'm just gonna see what this is all about. Take like $30, and I literally was considering is like, do I actually buy GameStop stock?
Mm.
And like, of course, I didn't end up doing it because I don't know enough
Right.
about the stock market, to actually do stuff with it. But damn it, if I just should have, because holy crap, the shares went from like 17 a share. They peaked at like 400 from what I understand a
Yeah, but you
share.
you shouldn't have bought them. And I can explain to you why you shouldn't have bought them, but you shouldn't have bought them. And that's kind of I think some of the misunderstanding. I'm not going to take the other people's side, but I'm going to kind of explain some of it that I've come to understand since then. Cuz like we talked about this possibly doing this as a talking point. And we already explained why we didn't do it as a talking point, but I tried to research it a little bit more.
Yeah.
So I've come to some other conclusions about it that, like I said, make me understand a little bit more some of it, but still not everything.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like if you bought it, right? Nobody would buy it from you, though. Is the thing. Like the problem is that right now that stock is overvalued without any buyers. And don't get me wrong, I do not think it is even remotely legal or constitutional for any of these apps or places to stop people from buying the stock they want to buy. Like that's just the whole idea of the free market.
Right.
And sure, this is going to hurt some people because some of this is a little bit stupid, but at the same time, like it's not it's it's not within your right to stop it, you know?
Right. For me, this whole story, like I had so many like questions and concerns, and like some of it is political, and I'm not going to get into that right now.
Right. Right.
But it's just like from the outside looking in, I can just imagine the size of the brick that the execs at GameStop shipped
Yeah.
when this
Yeah.
all went down.
There was a really cool post on Twitter. My wife doesn't do Twitter, but she saw somebody repost it that she laughed at. You know that there's actually one Blockbuster video actually left in the world?
Yeah, and I heard that they started going after that stock too.
They posted a picture of themselves, and then they just posted the tag, "Hey Reddit, do your thing."
Yeah, yeah, I saw that.
I thought that was really funny. I thought that was really funny. So okay, so here's the thing with the stock, right? And anybody out there who understands it better, if I am saying it wrong, I apologize because this is just something we weren't really gonna get in super in depth in, and I don't feel like I'm getting super in depth in it, but I'm pretty sure I kind of understand a little bit of it. So it's like when you buy that stock super cheap, right? The stock skyrockets, right? And so then the stock is valued because everybody's buying it. But the problem is that the company itself is still valueless. So anybody looking at that is not going to buy stock for that company. It's just going to drop back later on. And when it drops back, all those people who put all that money into it are going to lose their money. And the reason that they can't just turn around and sell it, I believe, is because usually when you buy stock, you have to keep it for a certain amount of time. So
I,
like
yeah, I have
so
no idea.
so what's happening is like the stock was $15 or whatever a share, and the people at GameStop, like, because GameStop is a shitty company that's going under, it's valued low. So then Everybody starts buying the stock. Well, that raises the stock price. Stock price goes up to $415. But that doesn't actually mean GameStop is a better company. It doesn't mean that it's doing any better. So the people who you would sell the stock to, who all these independent, smaller people would sell the stock to for the $415, are not going to buy it because they know better. So what's going to happen is all these people are going to spend all this money on the GameStop stock. It's going to drive it up. And then it's just in like 30 months, it's just going to tank the fucking thing. And like all the people who have all this money invested in it are going to lose that money. Because their money's going to go away. Because they bought the shares higher than what. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and it's like that too just goes to show like how much like little side rant here, like we need financial literacy to be taught in
Yeah.
schools
I
because
agree. I agree.
like there's some I didn't even know because the whole idea of shorting stock, which is what this
Yeah.
whole thing basically started with, I didn't understand. I still don't understand. It's something like you borrow stock from somebody to hope that it crashes so you can
Yes.
sell it back for more money. Like
So
I
there's a
even if I
movie.
set
There's a
I would say
there's a movie called The Big Short, right?
yeah,
And they
it's
talk
been
about the housing market. I the only reason I know about shorting stock is because of that, because that explains kind of why the housing market collapsed, and a lot of that was because of shorting stock. So like I get that a little bit, but at the same time like that was Robin Hood's explanation because they released this like press statement when they got so much bad PR for stopping people from being able to buy GameStop. Is like part of their explanation was you're going to buy this stock, you're going to get bankrupt. We are trying to protect people who don't know better. But again, that's not the way the world works. That's not the way you've set up this world. Like that's not the way America works. It is illegal to stop people from buying stock. Like that's the whole point of the free market. You cannot tell somebody they can't do a thing. They can't do that thing. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So I think that was just unconstitutional. But I think that's what people are afraid of is when it's going to drop off, it's going to be worthless again. But again, it makes it sound like I'm like siding with the people who stopped people from buying stock. I'm not in any way, shape, or form. I mean,
I can only imagine the financial quarter press release for GameStop. Like what are they gonna do? Because I actually, weirdly enough, I had a class macroeconomics last semester, and I had to pick a topic, and it just so happened that my topic overlapped with some financial stuff with GameStop. So I actually had looked up their financial statement for one of their previous quarters,
mhm.
and they say, like we've made this much, but it's been driven by, sales because everybody's like at home from the pandemic and everything like that. What is that letter going to look like when it comes out? So Reddit thought it would be funny to buy a lot of our stock. So I guess money question mark? Like
Yeah. It should be I don't know. It's really interesting. I've always thought the stock market system is kind of broken, and I feel like this is something that's showing it.
yeah, very much so.
All right, so let's move on to and I just want to say to anybody out there, I am not a financial advisor. I don't know this thing professionally. This is just what I've barely managed to piecemeal together. So if I am wrong, I apologize to you. You can correct me in the comments. I wholeheartedly give you the place to do so. I learned a little bit more about it. I think that's what was going on. So just wanted to say it. Just want to say that ahead of time before people start yelling at me.
And I openly have very little financial literacy, so
So I've added 2 more odds and ends to mine since we started.
all right.
Um,
Well, you know what? Let's just start plugging away at them.
all right. Well, how many do you have?
I think it's 7.
Oh, I've got 7 too. Okay, so it
Cool.
doesn't matter.
Excellent.
I'll go first then.
Cool.
My first one's kind of throwaway. Kevin Hart has been attached to the Borderlands movie
I saw that.
alongside Cate Blanchett. So anybody who's played Borderlands, the first one, he's been cast as Roland. Which look, I like Kevin Hart. I do. I think he's great in everything he does. Roland? Like, first of all, he's going to be shorter than Lilith because Kate Blanchett is Lilith. She's like half a foot taller than him, which is already weird. And Roland wasn't like that. You know what I mean? Like, is Kevin
Yeah.
Hart going to do this serious? I don't know, you know?
There is absolutely no way in a game that's primarily based around comedy. They are not gonna they're gonna have Kevin Hart play this character and not just have him be
Right.
Kevin Hart.
Well,
Like,
and why not cast him as somebody else who could just go off? You know what I mean?
Claptrap.
Yeah.
Claptrap.
Yeah.
He would be a great Claptrap.
He'd be better as Claptrap than he would be as Roland. Like I would
Yeah,
go,
that's-
oh, okay, I could see that. Like I don't understand this pick because Roland was literally the only serious character in the entirety of the games. You know, so it's very confusing to me. Like why you cast one of the funniest men in America to be one of the most serious characters in a comedy game. It's like, what are you guys doing?
The
All right.
guy that does the Allstate commercials, I cannot remember his name, but he would be a good one.
David Keith.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he would be a good one.
Yeah, he would be. He would be.
All right, so first of mine, so rumors began to swirl after an announcement of Konami restructuring the company that they were shutting down their gaming division. But Konami has since refuted those claims. They say that they're not shutting any. I don't know why they don't just auction off all of their IP
Yeah.
and just make the pachinko machines like they want to. That's literally all they do anymore with all their stuff.
I don't understand their market strategy with holding those hostage either. Like I mean, when was the last time we had a good Castlevania game? Like 6,
Yeah.
7 years ago, 10 years ago. Like it was
It's-
360.
They,
So,
I
like-
mean, they put out the anniversary collection, which
Oh,
whatever
yeah.
they're games that already exist. That's the thing.
Right.
Like they return to form Castlevania or whatever. I mean, Igarashi wanted to make Castlevania so bad he went over to Kickstarter and made Bloodstained. Like, just give it back to him or something along
yeah.
those lines.
I don't understand the strategy either. Like I'd really love to be in a room and have one of them explain to me why they have all these Konami titles that they don't sell off. Like you're just making Plinko machines anyway. Like and you could always make some sort of deal that like you get like royalties off of it for so many years. Like you're not making any money just sitting in a vault and every so often releasing an anniversary collection, you know?
And what's worse too about it is people are so hungry for these games that there are so many other game series that have come out in the spirit or vein of
Yeah.
Castlevania,
Yeah.
Silent Hill, stuff like that. And these games now are going to be well established and have rightfully taken the place of some of these older games. And then what? One day they're going to be like, well, we can do that too, and like just crap out whatever it is that they are going to do, be it Castlevania, Silent Hill, and it won't be enough. It's just like with Obsidian doing Outer Worlds. People wanted a new Vegas.
Right.
No, they weren't getting anywhere with Bethesda. So they're like, fine, screw it. We'll do it ourselves.
Yep.
And now they did it so well that is the new standard.
I think first of all, and I'm actually working on a terrible talk right now about it, which is the value of actually ending series and ending stories instead of constantly churning out the same IP over and over again. But in this particular case, we have never had a next generation, a present generation Castlevania entry.
No.
You know, like or even Silent Hill, really. Like why can't we like this isn't even something where it's like that's been around for a while, they're letting it die. I mean, this is like give us a new Castlevania. Reboot that. I'd be down for that.
Right.
All right.
So
ready?
what do you got?
All right, so my next one. So we talked about it a little bit last week on the whole KOTOR, Knights of the Old Republic, and EA was being real like, you'll never guess who's doing it sort of thing. Um, so there's a rumor going around, a couple of rumors. So I kind of paired these into one. It's kind of two, but into one. Uh, Aspire Media. Okay, they are the people who did the mobile port of KOTOR. Okay, uh, it is rumored they just like put out a an ad hiring people for a AAA game with RPG mechanics. So people are saying that Aspire Media is going to be the people making the big budget release of KOTOR. And in addition to that, it is rumored that KOTOR 1 and 2 are getting remasters to be ported to this generation.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I mean I'd be fine with that. A new company taking a shot at an old game, an old IP, I'd be totally okay with that. I think that whatever the remastered is would give us an idea of whether they can do a full standalone entry.
Yeah.
But another thing is Aspire Media itself has a lot of old BioWare developers there. Like they're a collection of BioWare developers that have left there. So it would be a lot of old school like KOTOR Mass Effect people working on it, and that's why they think they're going to get it as well.
I don't know. I think that'd work out pretty good.
Yeah, I think that'd be all right. All right, your next one.
All right. So can't go a week without talking about Cyberpunk.
God damn it.
I'm sorry.
I actually didn't have any Cyberpunk ones. I was so excited. I was like, maybe
Well,
we're going to get through one.
I'm sure you heard this story. So Cyberpunk 2077 recently had mod support integrated into the PC version of the game. So naturally, the modding community got to work and made a
Making it a good
mod.
game.
Well, I mean they've done all those things, but this news story.
Oh, I know what you're pitching. I know what you're doing.
This news story. They made a mod where you can have sex with Johnny Silverhand. So in an effort to not upset Keanu Reeves, CDPR has since banned the mod to not offend him. I mean that's
Do you think Keanu Reeves was on it and was like, because we know that he's played it before. Do you think he was like playing and he was like, I'm going to check out these mods? What do you mean I can fuck myself?
I don't know. Like, I feel like this is an unintended consequence of having a big name actor in a game.
Yeah.
Because
big time. Big time.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, it was just a matter of time before it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was going to take until they officially enabled mods.
You know, I mean, in fairness, and to play devil's advocate here too, just a tad, Cyberpunk is one of the horniest games to come out in like the last so many years. Like, it boggles my mind that CDPR, who has basically like, I mean, they've advertised a whole lot of stuff, but a lot of it has been like really in-depth sex scenes, really in-depth sexual encounters. Like, that's been some of their marketing, has been a lot of that. It kind of boggles the mind that they wouldn't think that immediately their very horny fans wouldn't be like, I wonder if I can fuck Keanu Reeves. Like, I mean, and then make it possible. Like, I don't understand why they didn't think that. You know what I mean?
I mean, it truly is the dick and balls game.
Yeah. Yeah, if I was making a game where like you got to decide what your penis looked like the first thing I would think is everybody in this is going to want to fuck all these characters. Like anybody they see, like anybody attracted to the fact that you can mess with your penis is going to want to use that penis on as many characters in the game as they can. So like I would immediately think maybe we should protect Keanu Reeves from, you know, getting banged digitally.
Yeah. So what do you got next?
Take your hat off, cover your heart with your hand, bow our heads. Bleeding Edge is dead, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, that was my next one.
Oh, you had that too. I didn't think you'd be. I didn't think you'd follow that one at all.
No, well, the only reason I did pick up on it is not to steal your thunder from your odd end here, but it's only 10 months.
Yeah, it was real quick death, and it wasn't a great game. and that was something that that I didn't like. I played it. I did a review on it. I played all the betas. I was actually really excited about it because I, anybody who has known me for a very long time knows that one of my all-time favorite games ever is For Honor. And this kind of felt like this kind of like weird, faster arcade style For Honor type thing. The problem with this game, right off the bat, is that you have to work together as a team. You cannot just log in and play it with other people. You absolutely have to have a crew to play it with. They have to be there every time. None of you can get booted. Like, because if you are outnumbered, you lose. If you're not working together, you lose. Like, there's no way for you to get a few kill streaks in a row either. Like, you can't take on like 1v2 if you're good. You die. And that is super irritating to any gamer. You know what I mean? Cuz like you don't
Yeah.
want to like you have to run a fine line when you're doing multiplayer co-op with like I know this isn't your area. That's why I'm kind of like taking it if you don't mind. But you have to run this fine line with multiplayer co-op where you need other players, but you also need to be able to do it by yourself if you have to. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
like you got to run that balancing act. If you need other players too much, you're always going to be irritated because I would go in and play. The minute we would start losing, somebody would drop out, and then we just get hammered for like the next 20 minutes. That's not fun. That's not fun at all. Uh,
Yeah.
and
I
vice
would.
versa. If we were winning, one of their players would drop out, and then you would hammer them. I wouldn't even get any kills because other people are hammering them so hard. That's not fun either.
Yeah. I
Like
do.
in For Honor when you're I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you, man.
You're fine.
In For Honor when you have like when I have a 1v2 or even a 1v3, I can win that. It is insanely difficult to win it, but I can win it. It is possible for me to win it. There are mechanics in that game for me to be able to, if I'm really good and they're not, I can beat all three of them. There is no way to do that in Bleeding Edge. And I think that's the killer.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. The only one game that I do play online that multiplayer on a regular basis is Halo 5.
Mm-hmm.
And that it's they can walk that line pretty well for the most part depending
Mm-hmm.
on the game type. So if it's just traditional Slayer, 3v5, as long as you have two other people on your team that know what they're doing, you can at least manage and make it, an
Possible.
actual challenge. Yeah. I mean, anything else beyond that, you have to be like MLG, grade
Right.
A, whatever.
Right.
But I mean, there are some game types like capture the flag. I mean, if you're playing capture the flag, you've only got three people on your team. There's no way you're going to make that up. And
Right.
that the same sort of thing happens is, you know, somebody will be down. There's been plenty of times that I've been playing we're down by like 20 kills and like people are dropping left and right. But then at the same time, you also get those awesome moments of
Mm-hmm.
whenever they drop people in who just like go in to matchmaking and you just get match made with the best out there and you can turn it around
Right.
from such a loss. It's like it makes it rewarding to stay through.
Yep.
But at the same time, it is hyper frustrating to have, a full another team opposing team knowing full well that you're not going to be able to do anything and they
Yep.
just screw with you and steamroll. And I'm one of those to where I do not like quitting unless it is like
Right.
absolutely necessary. Like if
Right.
there's something going on in the real world that is forcing me from the game, I will quit.
Yeah.
But outside of that, like even if it's me versus four people, like I'll just do whatever I can do and because it's a game, it's there to be played,
Right. 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 Yeah, you just do what you can do and you stay in it. I don't like to quit out either. It's just I don't know. That's what killed Bleeding Edge in my opinion.
Yeah.
Your turn, man.
Alrighty. Well that knocks one of mine off.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
so G4 TV is
Yeah.
officially revived. It's coming back
X-Play!
this summer. X-Play, Attack of the Show. We don't know if the original hosts will be returning.
Adam Sessler is.
He is. I had not seen
He
that.
has been doing nonstop videos for G4, and I urge anybody out there, go to YouTube and look up Adam Sessler, because he is like in this phase in his life too where he's much older. He has these crazy mutton chops, and he talks a lot like quieter. Like he's obviously like an older dude. Cranky old Adam Sessler, I'm all about. He is hilarious. I urge anybody to go check it out. He has a video on Cyberpunk, and then he has a video on he does with the Completionist, where they just talk about like games that they're really hyped about in the upcoming year. Um, Go check that out. He's so funny. I'm so glad they're back. He's been hyping it up that he's going to be back on it. Like he hasn't directly said it, but I know he's going to be back on X Play. I'm so glad X Play's coming back. I love
Yeah,
that show.
they have a thing on YouTube as well. It's B4G4.
Yeah.
They had like a little announcement video, and I had shared it into the Discord if anyone is interested. It's great. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah, go on
It's
there. Check out Adam Sessler. He's great, man. He's doing great stuff.
Yeah, I'm super about this. I cannot wait for G4 TV to be back.
All right. So my next one, this is probably going to knock off another one for you, because I can't
Okay.
imagine that you didn't put this on your list. Roger Craig Smith, the voice of Sonic, officially is
Uh,
no longer the voice of Sonic. He has left Sonic.
I did not put it on my list, but I saw that.
Yeah, it's a bummer, man. He's been Sonic for like 20 years, and he's not Sonic anymore. And nobody knows why. There's been no press releases as to why. He just kind of made this like tweet about leaving the character, and everybody was like, "You're leaving," and then Sega confirmed it. So Roger Craig Smith is no longer the voice of Sonic, and of course, he was not the voice of Sonic in the movie. That was Ben. Ben. Oh man, why am I blanking on his name? That's gonna
I'm
drive
not
me
good
nuts.
with actors' names.
But it was an actor, very funny actor who did a good job. But like that was the only time Roger Craig Smith wasn't Sonic in the last like 20 years. But he is departed from the role.
Well, I'm actually going to kind of segue into my next one based off of that because it kind
Great,
of touches on Sega.
go.
Um, so, according to Game Rant, a credible rumor has surfaced that Microsoft will be making another major acquisition this year that is on par with their Bethesda acquisition. On a possibly related note, Sega has split its gaming and amusement divisions, leading to speculation that it could be Sega that's being acquired, as it has been long rumored. So,
Interesting.
yeah, so I that would be interesting. I know you had mentioned that to me
Mm-hmm.
last year at some point, and I had after we had talked about it, I'd seen it pop up in a couple other places.
Yeah.
So it very well could be, especially given the fact that they're separating their like purely like entertainment stuff off from their actual gaming division.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, unless for some reason they're like gonna make a new console or whatever, but I don't think Sega would ever jump back in at this point.
I think in this day and age, if you want to make a console, you got to be different.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they're just too instilled. You know what I mean? Like
I mean,
what would a new console be in this kind of like day and age?
yeah, like the Atari VCS is apparently out. I
Where?
didn't know that.
I've never even seen one. I don't
I
think they exist. I think it's a
I
myth.
Yeah, I think you can only get it online, but I had seen that people are like reviewing them and stuff like that. I could not begin to
Uh,
tell you what games are available on it outside of like classic Atari
I
games.
don't think it's real. I think Atari announced it, and then Atari was like, "Hey, how's that VCS coming?" And then like somebody was like, "Oh, we were supposed to start that," and it was like, "All right, just tell them it's done and it's out, and let them eat each other." Like, like I don't think that thing exists. I think it's an urban legend. Um, all right, so my next one is Biomutant. Finally has a release date. We talked about this a couple weeks ago that it was doing pre-orders without having a release date, which was irritating me. But it does have a release date now, and that will be May the 25th. We will see whether that holds true or not. However, they did release a comment because IGN went to them and said, "Look, You showed this game like 2 or 3 E3s ago. You've been basically dead quiet since then. How are you almost done with this and we haven't seen any of it? And Biomutant basically went back to them and said, look, we announced it. We showed you guys the game. We're a 20-person team. We don't want to do crunch. We don't want to do delays. We don't want to have bugs. So we just shut the fuck up and did our job. And I mean, I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but basically that was their response. Is we just put our heads down and we worked and we decided that we would tell you guys when we were ready to release it. So it's almost done and it's almost ready to release, and we're telling you. We'll see if that holds true, but I'm kind of excited if it does. We've already had two AAA games hit their first release date, their first announced release date this year. So neither one of them are my bag, unfortunately, but I'm kind of excited. I hope that remains a trend.
Yeah, Medium, I was wondering if my computer would be able to run Medium just because I've been so curious. Like, I don't do horror
Yeah.
games, but the fact that it literally you're rendering the game twice
Hmm.
on your screen, split screen. And from what I understand, it is one of the first strictly next gen Xbox games. I could be wrong on that.
I don't know. Uh, I definitely see advertisements for it on my Xbox One, but I haven't tried to play it on my Xbox One. I don't
I
know if
mean, I
that's
can
just.
imagine it's not going to work very well.
Well, right. I haven't tried it. However, I will say this about Medium. It is a horror game. I'm never going to play it. It's not my bag. I don't have any interest in it. I'm not even going to review it because I won't review it properly. It's just, I don't do horror games.
Yeah.
But it set a release date. It hit that release date. It doesn't have any bugs. And it scored an 8. Like, way to go, you know?
It can be done.
It can be done. I mean, same thing with Hitman. Hitman 3. That was their first release date was this month, and they hit it. They released it, and it's not buggy with the exception of the Switch version. But that's because of the streaming. It's not because of the game
Yeah.
itself. Um, you know what? I'm just gonna transfer into my next odds since we're talking about it anyway.
Okay.
And then I'll let you do two. Really cool thing. This is just throwaway, but I want all games to start doing this, and I will feel a lot better about like the value of gaming. Is Hitman 3, if you buy Hitman 3, Hitman 1 and 2 come with it.
Huh.
Yeah, you get them for free. They come, it's a package deal. You get all three. That is awesome. Like they're like, "Hey, we want you to know what Hitman 1 and 2 is." So, here you go. So, if you buy 3, you get 1 and 2. Period. Like they're in the game that you can play them.
I would love for that to be implemented across the board.
God,
But
that'd be great.
I know, like, guaranteed all these other companies will find a way to all give us, as they do now, actually already, like, oh, pay an extra $10 for this version, you get this and this. Like, I mean, depending on what it is, it might be worth it. But like the Spider-Man Miles Morales, when we picked that up for the PS5,
Hmm.
there was the deluxe edition, which was $10 more, and you got the remastered for PS5 version of the original Insomniac Spider-Man.
Right. It's so
But that's
silly to me. It's so silly to me to try and go back to that because when you're really looking at it, you're not making any money off those previous versions. Like if Hitman
right.
3 came out and I wanted to go buy Hitman 1 and 2, I would go to GameStop and I'd get them 2 for $10. Like because they're way past the time when anybody's playing them, so their value just drops off the face of the planet. You know what I mean? So
Right.
like you're not making any money off a game that nobody's playing anymore anyway. Like so just put them all in that one. Why not? You know, why not put that incentive in? Anybody who wanted to buy it in the first place bought it. You know what I mean? Like I don't know. It's a silly idea to me. Silly idea that they don't just do that, you know. But
Yeah.
your turn, man.
All right. Before I get into my next odd and end, I did have to make a quick correction, checking
Okay.
myself as I spoke. The VCS is not out yet.
Okay. All right.
The Atari VCS.
I had heard that it was out too, though. Like I don't fault you for that because I had heard that it was out too, and
Yeah.
then yeah,
So
it's a myth and an enigma that we're never gonna see really.
Yeah, apparently my quick Googling that I did, the VCS, it's coming out sometime this year. That said, Walmart's already sold out of them. I don't know how that works, but um
Okay, all right.
so anyways, well, I only have two odds and ends left anyways at this point. So you and I had mentioned to you about this interview that was going to be taking place at the New York Gaming Awards. I didn't get a chance to watch
Oh
this.
yeah, 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 yeah.
This interview that was done with former heads of the big three companies,
Right.
um, all sitting down together and just talking about like gaming and how it was like being these weird frenemies,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Right.
Um, but interesting thing came out of this interview that Reggie Fils-Aimé apparently had said in the interview that the Wii U was such an absolute failure. We all kind of figured this, but
Yeah.
if the Switch did not sell and it was another flop, that it was make or break for Nintendo.
Yeah.
Like that was going to be it. And like I think we all kind of assumed that, but hearing him say that just kind of was like, wow,
Yeah.
okay, like we didn't know it was that bad. He had made mention in that interview that it was probably the only thing launch it was better than was the Virtual Boy, which is a lot.
Yeah, that's saying a lot. Yeah, I had heard that it was pretty bad. That's pretty bad. I mean, the thing sold like under 1 million copies, if I recall correctly. Like,
Yeah,
which is crazy in this day and age, you know?
well, I mean, their marketing from the jump, nobody knew what it was. Is it a
Right,
peripheral? Is it,
right,
this, that, and the other? You can use your Wii remotes on it. It's like, well, is it a Wii? Well, no, it's not a Wii. You got this tablet thing, and like you could play on the tablet and walk away. My manager at work let me borrow his. It's actually how I played through Breath of the Wild the first time was on the Wii U.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and like it was okay, but that tablet thing did not have range.
Mm,
Didn't have range at all. If there was anything in the way, you would get stutters, you would get little notifications coming up saying that it's lost connection. The
right.
battery life on the tablet itself was only about 3 hours, which is about what the Switch is anyways, but like
Well, and it's
it,
so interesting that Nintendo decided to double down on the port. Like, it did so bad with a portable version of the Wii that they're like, no, we need to get even more portable. Like, that surprised me that they were like, no, we're going to do this. We're going to do it right. And it worked somehow, you know?
I think it was one of those things to where they just kind of leaned into their strengths. Like
Yeah.
they the portables, like they had portable on lock. They always had. And I'm really honestly kind of sad that like the DS just kind of got rolled into the Switch.
Yeah.
They're just
Yeah.
not doing it anymore because I loved all those handheld games. I mean, I tried to charge my 3DS up the other day. The cable's no good and I can't find a cable anywhere, but
Right.
that's whatever. But like
Yeah.
the 3DS games are still good. And it's
Yeah.
just like it's a great little system. And I love the fact that they managed to make a whole console portable.
Philbilly actually really liked the DS. And actually, he's recently gotten access to a Switch, and he doesn't love it. Like he actually, I think he would prefer not to put words into his mouth, but I think he would prefer his old portable to the Switch, which is interesting to me.
See,
Um,
it's weird because everybody tends to kind of play it their own way.
right,
So
right,
like there's some people who are like, oh, I only do handheld. Oh, I only do like myself. I primarily do the TV. I'll do it handheld occasionally, like I did today a little bit playing Mario Odyssey, but
right,
outside of that, like I always do it on the TV.
right, right.
Um
You've got two left, right?
well, no, I've only got one more now. That was my other one.
Okay, so I've got one too. I'm just gonna do mine, and then you can do yours, and then we'll be done.
All right.
New report came out about the Amazon Game Company, and they have not been doing great. I don't know if anybody's noticed that. They've released one game that got shut down like 6 months after it started in a multiplayer kind of Overwatch type thing. It got like a 4 or something. It was a
Yeah.
terrible game from what I heard. There's another game that that just came and went, like got canceled. And then they have New World, which has been in and out of beta, which everybody does like, but still hasn't like really come out. Um, and a new report has been released that they have some real shitty bro culture stuff going on in their company. That like women are not being abused, but they're being like I don't know what you'd say. Like it's abuse, but like they're basically insulted and thought of like almost like a prejudice, I
Degraded.
guess. Yeah, degraded. Yeah, like they're not like beating them up or anything, but basically they're not letting them get opportunities. In addition to that, they're very like lax with any sort of like work or whatever. They just do what they feel like when they feel like it, and it has caused like productivity to just be a nightmare. Like there's no clear cut leadership there. So yeah, so this relatively new company is just it's just a nightmare place,
Well,
making everybody look better.
this is crazy because my last one kind of built off of that as well. It
Nice
might be a different news
synergy.
story, but apparently the report that I have from VG 24/7 says that apparently Amazon spends $500 million a year on its gaming division.
Wow, wow.
$500 million, and they've got, like you said, the one game that they put out, and just it was Crucible, was it?
Crucible, that's the one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Crucible got it was out and then just tanked immediately.
yeah.
And then they just announced recently their streaming service.
The Luna.
Yeah, and it's like, what do you, I don't know what they're doing. Like, Amazon is just Jeff Bezos is just throwing money at things that sound like good ideas because he is about to be a literal trillionaire and just can.
Yeah,
it's
he
it's
might be honestly.
that's
Like I
like
don't
that's what's
know.
happening here, especially like that coupled with what you had just said too about the what's going on in their gaming division is
Hmm.
just absolutely crazy. The
Yeah,
fact that we can spend $500 million a year on literally nothing. And
right,
like
right.
I understand there's like a startup, a process, that you have to like roll into, but there's they don't even have the beginnings of anything to really show to justify the price tag
No,
that they have for
they
all of
don't.
this.
They don't
It's
at
crazy.
all. They don't at all. It's totally insane. All right, so that is odds and ends EX plus alpha. So you want to go to the horrible arena, buddy?
Sure.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
That brings us to the end of the show, the moment of truth, the moment you've all been waiting for, the horrible arena. What is the horrible arena if you have never listened or watched? Well, first of all, you should listen and watch more. We work really hard on this. And it is where the two hosts are going to pitch you a game. We're going to pitch you a game based on pre-existing criteria either decided by the guest or we take turns back and forth. Then you guys get to go to all the places and you got to tell us which one you would spend your hard-earned money on if you had to choose. Now, the pre-existing criteria was mine to choose last week, which means I decided I wanted a genre-defining game. Genre-defining game. I wanted it to be something that was like a thing unto itself. So, that is what we are pitching today. The quantum coin has been tossed. I get to go first. Neil, are you ready?
Sure.
Okay. All right. So, my project is going to take a little bit of explaining. And I also want to say ahead of time, I probably shouldn't say this right off the bat, but if you guys out there feel like I have not done enough to define a genre, please don't vote for the game, even if you think it's awesome. Because I think it's kind of borderline. But this game is just so cool in my head that I have to pitch it to you guys. Okay? So, my project will be created by Undead Labs, who will have an absolute ton of money thrown at them. And the project will be called Project Time Lord. Now, this is a licensed property. Anybody out there who knows me knows that I love Doctor Who. Okay? Now, I know what you're thinking. A lot of you out there are like, Doctor Who? Oh, no. Just wait. Let me get into it. Doctor Who, just for a little explanation, is this alien character who has the police box or whatever, which is bigger on the inside. It's a TARDIS, which allows him to travel through space and time. He usually travels with a companion. He solves problems, and he's a pacifist. And every video game that they have ever made or tried to make in the Doctor Who universe, which is huge, by the way. I mean, like, not huge big wise. I mean, huge, like a huge moneymaker for BBC and Britain. Every game they've tried to make in this universe has failed. And that, in my opinion, is because it is always based on the Doctor. And the cool thing about the Doctor in the show is he is a pacifist. He's a complete pacifist. He just tries to get around things without hurting as little people as humanly possible. Whereas that does not always make the most entertaining game. It can, but it doesn't always make the most entertaining. So, the other thing you need to know about the Doctor is whenever he is killed, he doesn't actually die unless you kill him again before he finishes regenerating. His regeneration process basically means he changes his physical appearance, he changes his complete body, he retains the memories of all previous Doctors. However, the way he feels, his emotions, how he acts completely changes to be this new person, whatever it is. That's how the show gets away with every so often there's a new actor playing the Doctor and we're all okay with it because he regenerates into something cool. He usually travels with a companion. The companion is usually a human who, helps him find his humanity because, he's lived for thousands of years and he's a god. I know, that was a lot of preamble to share the pitch. The reason is you need to know those things before going in. What you would play in this game is you would play a Time Lord. This would be before the Time War. This would be where the Time Lords were aplenty. A lot of them had TARDISes and they just sailed around the galaxy getting into shit. You get to create a Time Lord from the ground up. However, you don't get to create his appearance. Why do you not get to create his appearance? Because it's a regeneration thing. You get to just pick their title. Now, the Doctor does not have a name. He's called the Doctor. The evil Time Lord he fights is called the Master. So you would pick one of those things. The criminal, the engineer, the warrior, whatever. It would define right off the bat procedurally that regeneration's skills, that regeneration's appearance, that regeneration's whatever from the procedural generation. You would also get procedurally generated a companion or a number of companions, and your first mission would involve acquiring those companions, kind of like a tutorial thing. What's interesting about this game, though, is that nothing is scripted. This is absolutely going to be, and here's where the genre comes in. This is actually absolutely going to be the mecca of procedural generation. What the people at Undead Labs will do is they will be constantly updating it, so it will be kind of like a games as service, unfortunately, and it will start with a few time periods in its procedural generation, a few bad guys in its procedural generation, a few scenarios in its procedural generation, and basically every time you go into another mission, which will be called an episode, it will literally procedurally generate a unique experience for you. A different time period, a different bad guy, a different plot, a different setup. You get to go in and decide how you deal with it. What's really going to be interesting about this game is if you want to play it pacifist, you can. You can play it completely pacifist. You can get away with your entire situation without fighting. It might cost you something, but you'll have to decide that in the actual play. Or you could be a crazy Time Lord. You don't have to be restricted by the Doctor. You could kill everybody with your super mind powers, whatever. Like, you could figure out how to just kill everybody and move on to the next one. This would also judge how your companions feel about you. One thing that Undead Labs is great at doing in the State of Decay games is having each character that joins your community have their own personality, what they're okay with, what they're not okay with. That would factor into this. You could potentially lose companions. They could potentially leave you. They could even become bad guys in later procedurally generated campaigns. If you lose a companion, it would procedurally generate a new mission to acquire a new companion. What's even more interesting is the permadeath from State of Decay is carried over into this. Your companion dies, he's dead, he's gone for good. If you die, You regenerate. That's right. You literally become another Time Lord. Your stats reshuffle, your face reshuffles, your voice reshuffles, your gender reshuffles. Everything reshuffles with the procedural generation. What's interesting about this is you might get skills that actually help you be more passive or help you be more of a fighter. So it urges you to roleplay your Time Lord in the specific way that that Time Lord requires for that regeneration. And it means that every time you go into this game, it is a different experience. Yes, you will get some repeats here and there of bad guys, repeats of maybe scenarios you've met up with before. But each time there'll be factors that change it. The games as service aspect will be Undead Labs will be constantly adding time periods, bad guys, plot lines. That's all they'll do is they'll just add that and fix bugs. That and they will also make online multiplayer support where you can meet up with other Time Lords who are also playing this game with their companions. What's even more interesting, what happens when my pacifist Time Lord meets up with Phil Billy's warrior Time Lord and we try and solve a problem? Maybe we become deadly enemies that continually keep meeting each other throughout space and time, constantly trying to one up each other. Maybe we work together. Maybe we understand each other and become friends and continue to work together. How cool would this experience be? This is the Doctor Who experience that not only Doctor Who fans would be excited about, but any gamer would get excited about the technology that would go into this game. That is my game, and that is why I had to pitch this fucking game, because this is literally the game I've been waiting for 39 years of my life. And I'm only 39 years old. So, that's my pitch, Neil. You're up.
I love that you exited the womb, and your first thought
Oh, I
as
did.
a tiny baby
There's no
was,
way.
man, I need,
I need
I
that
need.
Doctor Who game. I don't even know
I
what
need that
Doctor Who
much.
is, but I need that game. I believe it's been part of my genetic code. Like, this game has been part of my genetic code. This would be everything that I would want in a game. And honestly, if I got this game, I would never need another game. Like, this would be my game forever. Like, you'd never see me play another game.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go into mine.
Okay.
So off the top, I didn't have a good name for this, but so the name of my project is gonna be called Puzzle Epic, and it's gonna be done by Capcom. So the game would initially look like a traditional RPG, where your character would set out on a quest to stop like some mysterious, malevolent, dark force from destroying the land. Uh, as your character leaves to begin their quest, however, the player would realize in their first random encounter that the battle isn't a simple turn based encounter, but rather a puzzle combat that evolves over time. Um, so the player would begin with only like three different colored block types. Each would refer to an attack type, be it like power, speed, and like tech slash magic, whatever. And these blocks are cleared and affects how powerful they are. So the puzzle combat would be based on a match 3 system. By using a cursor on the screen, the player can switch the position of any two blocks in a row on the screen horizontally, like Tetris Attack or like Panel de Pon or something like that. Matching 3 on its own does minimal damage, but lining more blocks up will add additional damage to it. Since the surrounding blocks will also fall after you clear a line, cascading matches will also amplify the damage done as well, leading to combos. These attacks will be performed on screen by your character as the lines clear. None of this just like standing sprite doing a punch or something like that. Your character would physically move and do an attack. Different enemies would be weak to different types of attacks, so setting up the right combos is key. Of course, the enemies will also be attacking you as well. So if the player wants to go on the defensive, they can actually flip their puzzle board over. So then those same colored blocks would be used for defensive maneuvers, such as healing, blocking, or like defensive maneuvers like tuck and roll sort of things, or to be positioned for counterattacks. Um, this flipping of the board can be done mid combat, giving the player to the option to attack, then heal if they so desire, opening up combat options like you would in a real fight. Um, of course, it is also an RPG, so the character will progress by gaining experience points. And as the character levels up, they grow by unlocking new colored blocks that could do things such as use different types of magic, or they could expand the size or change the shape of their puzzle board, leading to different strategic shapes and sizes of the board that could fit better play styles, focusing more so on horizontal matching or a taller one that could focus more so on cascades. Um, of course, gear would also be a huge focus with different types of weapons affecting the types of damage and amount of damage done, as well as armor that can lessen damage from certain types of attacks as well. And of course, there is an online mode that would let you take your character online and fight against other players in their own puzzle builds, their own character builds. So that is going to be the name of my game, Puzzle Epic.
All right, guys. Well, there you go. You got two pretty good pitches. Project Time Lord versus Project Puzzle Epic, and you guys can go to all the places we're about to say to pick which one you want. But Neil, it is your turn to pick criteria, sir.
Yeah, so I don't know if this one's gonna count. I should have said something to you beforehand.
Okay.
So we've done taking like an existing IP and making it into a game, and I'm pretty sure we did that already in this new round.
Okay.
But I was going to suggest doing strictly a movie, but we kind of did that before. Whenever the last time I believe that we did that by taking an existing IP and turning it into a game, I think we both chose movies.
I think we
So,
did because I picked
uh,
John Wick and you picked something else.
oh god, that's
Yeah,
no,
because
mine was a crossover, I think. Oh no, mine was yeah. That's when I pitched the Demolition Man. So
yep.
yeah, I don't have one then. I
Well,
got
you gotta
nothing.
pick one. It's your turn, champ. Just pick a
I
broad genre then that we haven't done
uh
yet.
shooter.
Shooter. All right, shooter. It works. All right. So we'll be right back with your plugs.
Horrible Gaming Podcast.
All right, so that brings us to the end of the show and the shameless self promotion that comes with it. Neil, you got anything specific you want to promote?
No, really. I mean, we've got Halo Infinite Road.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And one thing I did think of off the top of my head, just randomly, because you had mentioned that you're working on another Terrible Talk. That's two in a row for you. Um,
Well, I know
yeah,
that you're doing school and you don't have as
yeah,
much time.
and
Mine
that's
pale in comparison in editing, but
and that's actually what I was going to get into, just because of how my schedule is playing out with work and with school, everything like that. Especially whenever I'm taking classes and how they're scheduled is very strange this
mm,
semester, and it's weird now, but it's going to get even worse in the second half of the semester.
right.
So I probably won't be able to do a Terrible Talk for a hot minute, anyways.
Yeah, yeah, I
So
figured.
yeah, I just kind of wanted to throw that out there. I mean, I don't
It's
think anybody's like chomping at the bit for one of the terrible. I have
That's not
not seen
true.
anybody online. I mean, I put effort into them. I think they're
Nobody
fun. I
chomps
think
at the bit for anything we do. You shouldn't take that as an offense. Like
right. That's oh
nobody's
no,
like
I
sitting
don't. I
somewhere
don't.
frothing for more old man gaming content. I think
Honestly,
it's more like, I'll watch this.
I honestly I think I would feel horrible if somebody was like, "Oh man, this was so when's the next one?" I'm like, "I can't do it."
Yeah, I do want to, off the back of that, say that Halo Infinite War finale is this Tuesday. We play this wacky, crazy plasma grenade vehicle game that is absolutely hilarious to watch us play for our final episode of that.
It's a long
Uh,
one, isn't it?
I don't know. I think it's just over 30, so I don't think it's that long. I mean, it's not the normal 20, but we're anywhere between 20 and 40 anymore. So yeah, so check that out. As far as the terrible talk, I think I'm gonna try and get it up for Friday when Godfall 330 takes a season break, but I'm not gonna guarantee that. Definitely not. But what I'm going to be doing it on is the value of ending games, like, and not constantly recycling IP over and over again.
This is going to be very interesting. I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
I'm very excited about it because I was a comic fan for most of my life, and I see a lot of the video game world going into that in even a worse way because they don't have the way to produce the content like comics do. So there would be a lot of comparisons. I don't want to do it here now, so you'll have to check it out. I'm very excited to do it, so hopefully I will have that up on Friday. No promises, but hopefully. And as far as everything else goes, you guys can check out everything this channel has to offer. You can check out us on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join our Discord. The link will be in the description below. You can influence this and all of our shows from there. Guys, please click like. Please click subscribe. Please tell your friends about us. We've lost some subscribers this month. I'm bummed about it. Please cheer me up by finding some more. And as long as you guys keep watching and listening, we will keep making them. We'll see you guys next week. I like Nut Dust. I want that to be a t-shirt. Can that be our first t-shirt on the podcast? Nut Dust.
You know what? Honestly, though, I think I would be a little upset losing out to Ain't Scared, Ain't Never Been Scared. Or at least beating Ain't Scared, Never Been Scared.
Yeah,
I think that would be a real injustice on all fronts.
if Nut Dust was the first shirt over Ain't Scared, Never Been Scared, yeah, we'd lose Phil. Phil would be done. He'd be like, I'm fucking out of here.
And rightfully so. I mean,
be like, this is horse shit.
I mean, he's got a song about. There's a song been made about it. Gonna lose out to Nut Dust. I'd be upset too.
It's true. It's true. He'll get the shirt. We get a hat.